was the last question that we were talking about?
Oh yeah, so how does gig work? Do people pay you beforehand, pay you afterwards, or pay you half and half? When you're doing DJing, how does that work?
That's a great question. You also asked when we were on break too about how do people find me for gigs as well. So I can kind of tie both of those things together a bit. So ideally, I like getting paid half, and then the beforehand, like a half deposit to lock in a date. Then I like getting paid the second half the day of. That doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes that happens that way. Sometimes people pay me in full the day of a gig. Sometimes people pay me later. Like it, literally every potential situation, net 45, net 30, where people pay 30 business days after. All different types of things. So you kind of gotta be understanding, but also protect yourself. We also kind of talked a little bit about contracts. I told you about how I don't personally like contracts because, like, seriously, are you going to sue somebody over $500? Are you going to really go out your way? You're probably going to have to pay your lawyer that $500. You would just be doing it just to be, not necessarily, I'm not going to call it out of spite, but you're doing it just to prove a point. So I just have been lucky to deal with really good people that I trust. I kind of told you about how only one promoter ever didn't pay me, and that was early. But I also thought of another person who didn't pay me as well. And I just, stopped working for them. It was a waste of time, and it was bad communication. But it was a lesson, and I kind of learned. So it kind of shaped how I do business and how I work and how I operate. So yeah, it's interesting. You kind of got to figure out what works for you. And when I was telling you earlier too, when I first started DJing, I DJed for Nike, so that really helped get me out there. Like I worked for Nike, the brand, and they found out I DJ, so they started booking me. So other people would see me through that, and they'd be like, "Oh, if he's working at Nike, he must be good." Like I feel like that's what people would assume. And they were assumed right. And it was like I got a lot of gigs from that. It gave me like a lot of legitimacy. Let's see. But yeah, I feel like connecting myself with that brand gave me a sense of legitimacy for sure.
And there's a lot of people who are doing gigs like yourself. And what kind of vibe does people give you, or how do you get into the instinct of, okay, this could be a trustworthy, person that I can work with, and what kind of give you like if this is off balance, might not be paid afterwards, or how does that work?
Yeah, it really, you just gotta kind of be a good judge of character. You just gotta understand, like, you can tell a lot by the way people communicate. Like sometimes it's like people try to make a situation seem more grandiose than what it really is, and then you kind of can understand it, and that's kind of where the deposit comes in. Like if it's a situation where it doesn't feel right and they don't want to give a deposit, don't do it. Like if it doesn't sound right, if it walks, have you ever heard the quote, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. You just got to understand that, and you got to really like read the room and read the situation, and that's how you usually prevent, and sometimes you can still be wrong. Like with anything, like being in a legitimate company, you do expect the company pays you on time. You expect that you paid the amount that you owed. But even in legitimate companies and corporations, sometimes I've never happened to me before. I've heard of people not getting paid, or their check bouncing, or that's just kind of the risk we run sometimes. You never know when that's gonna happen. But luckily for me, I haven't had that problem. And it probably doesn't hurt that I'm pretty big and people don't try to mess around with me.
Yeah, and see that comes with a lot of like street smart. You learn one by experience by another.
Oh, to be an entrepreneur, you have to be street smart. You can't be like naive. Like I feel like a lot of people, like being an entrepreneur is not for everybody. Like I feel like a lot of people are talented, very intelligent in like maybe one, not necessarily just one thing, but they know like an engineer or an accountant or a lawyer. Like, and lawyers are a different thing. I feel like lawyers are kind of like entrepreneurs. I feel like they have to be creative. They have to think outside the box. But a lot of other industries, I feel like you kind of very specific, like a mechanic. I mean, maybe not even with that. But I think a lot of times people do, like, they're like have the blinders on. As an entrepreneur, you have to be ready for any situation. You have to know a little bit of all aspects. Maybe not like be a master at all of them, but just be even a novice at some things. And usually that kind of helps you out a lot. It helps you figure things out.
And earlier you were mentioning something very interesting. So if people pay in deposit and they pay like first half, and let's say the event could go really well, or sometimes it didn't go as expected. How does that adjust the payment on the end of the day, the other half?
Well, are you talking about the scenario of it going well on the DJ's end or on the event end, on the promoter?
Let's go for both, since you asked.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah, I mean, typically, as a DJ, you're getting paid for the attempt. You're not, you don't know how it's gonna go. Like, for me, I haven't had many like nightmare situations. I've had some events that weren't ideal. I have had events that I thought were more stressful, but that doesn't make me get paid more. The only reason you get paid more is if someone asks you to do more hours. Like, if your contract, if you agree to a certain time. Now, like, granted, if like in my contract says if any of my equipment is damaged, then you have to pay for it, and that's never happened for me technically. But yeah, I've had some stressful situations, and I mean, in terms of my clients, I haven't really gotten bad feedback. I have had some situations where the client might have thought we had a misunderstanding, but I still get paid. They might not book me again, but still get paid. And most of those situations are in weddings, and a lot of times it comes from the wedding being unorganized. So it's like confusion on my end, and you have to take the blame, if something goes wrong. So, yeah, I haven't had too many horrible situations. I've had gigs that I've done that I would have probably not done, but, you did it, and you keep it moving,
Can you dig into a little bit more on the misunderstanding side? Because I'm assuming a lot of people who are doing gigs might run into the similar situation, and this could help you like level with everyone.
Yeah, like the misunderstanding. So, for example, I could think of two specific situations. Well, I can think of a couple, but I'll do two where I feel like the client felt like he was misunderstood, and I can think of two where I feel like I was misunderstood. So I had two weddings that I could think of. One of my I'll call him a friend. I did his wedding, and it was like a really like last minute wedding, and also he didn't really have a wedding planner, which is always a red flag. If you don't have a wedding planner, that's a red flag, because it leaves a lot of room for things to be misunderstood. So he wrote down the list of songs that he needed to be played for certain moments. Like, for example, the walkout, first dance, the cake cutting, every moment. And he had them listed. And he had them listed in order. I assume this is the order things are going. Nobody told me to order the progression. I mean, I know the typical wedding progression. So it was like, okay, so he had the music for the parties to come out to. And they did that. They did the speech. They announced them man and bride. And then the next on the list was the first dance. So I played the first dance song when it was like the next thing. It was like an awkward silence. And people started looking at me. And oh shoot, I should have went that way. That's okay. People looked at me, so I played that. And then I saw him, he looked frustrated. So as soon as I did that, I looked back at the list, and I'm like, oh, it must be when the recession or when they leaving. So I turned it off real quick, and then I played it. So they left. They came back. He expressed that he was upset at me. And I explained to him in the moment, I'm like, well, You didn't have anyone explain to me when things are happening. You gave me the list. This is the order it was on the list. But it's still, in his mind, I messed up. And his wife was upset as me as well. But it wasn't that big of a deal overall, but for them, it wasn't a good moment for them. They didn't like that it happened that way. And just to be honest with you, it wasn't a good wedding. It was really like, it was a disconnect. Like the families, it just wasn't, it was a pretty janky wedding, in my opinion. So there was another wedding I did at the Shed Aquarium that was really good as well. And there was a disconnect before. The guy, the groom wanted me to get the contract in at a certain time. I guess it took longer than I expected. This is really funny, actually. So he told me he was like gonna go in another direction because I hadn't given him the contract. So I told him, I'm like, okay, that's fine, but your wife is gonna be disappointed whoever else you choose for do your wedding. And he laughed, and I sent him the contract, and then he sent me the deposit right away. And we didn't really say much after that. We just kind of built up, get ready for the wedding. So we get to the wedding. I mean, I thought it went pretty good. It wasn't my best. Cause usually most weddings I do, it's like a lot of dancing. This was a little bit of dancing, but I felt like I wasn't really vibing with the crowd like I do at a lot of other weddings I've done. And a lot of times they will give me like some suggested songs that I can kind of build off of. But yeah, it was kind of a disconnect. And I heard from a family member of them that he had mentioned something about that after the wedding too. And I didn't know. He didn't say anything to me about it, but I felt it. It felt like it was a weird energy. So situations that I felt like that, felt like it was a miscommunication where there's been a couple of times I've done private events and like the event space books me. But they kind of give me a description of what the client wants. That's not exactly what they want. Like I had one space I was doing events at. He would always say, "Oh, they want old school R&B," which is you know what R&B is.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, I'm great at that. That's fine. And I get there and they want to hear reggaeton. That's the first thing they tell me they want.
Okay.
So I'm like, but why didn't you communicate that to me instead of telling me R&B? R&B and reggaeton are not the same thing. They're not even close to the same thing. So that was uncomfortable for me, but I made it work. So you just make it work. You just move on, get through the situation.
So that comes in like reading the ear, right? You kind of realize like that's what they want, but that's not what you prepare. So what do you do there? That's the smart part.
Well, I'm a professional. I know how to, on the fly, be able to get songs. I'm like, okay, if this isn't, like, I'll talk to the people. I'm like, if the songs I'm not playing, like, what do you want to hear? What type of artist? Do you have any specific songs? Give me a couple songs. I'll take some recommendations for the people in the crowd. I'll try things. Because even a lot of times with that, people will give me suggestions, but they don't work. Like, the people still aren't reacting to it. So for example, the one where he said R&B and it was reggaeton, she asked for some reggaeton. I played, she said Bad Bunny. Played Bad Bunny. Wasn't much going on. Then I saw it was some white people there, so I played some white people music. I played like some Black Eyed Peas, some fun party stuff. And then I saw some reactions. Then some of the people who were Latina were like, "No, why are you playing this?" I'm like, "Well, they're reacting. This is getting people dancing." I'm like, "Y'all not dancing." Yes. Then I got a suggestion like, "Oh, play some old school Mexican music." I'm like, "Okay." Completely different direction. So I do that. She gave me a couple suggestions, and it was okay reactions. But then I knew I had some old school Mexican bangers, like stuff that works every time. And I went through a mix of that, and then boom, it was just like, see, that's where your experience comes in as a DJ. Like, people make suggestions, and they think their suggestion is going to make or break the party, when that's just not the reality. So it's like one of those things where your expertise takes in, you kind of know when you have to do an audible, and you have to Just think quickly. And sometimes it doesn't always work. Sometimes you never get the crowd 100%. Sometimes it's just like a vibe. You get some people dancing. Sometimes it's just not always gonna be incredible. Sometimes it's okay to be okay. Sometimes it's okay to get through it, and you learn from it, and you keep going. And then kind of as you're going, you put yourself in a position where that happens less and less. Like this guy's like, you're going back to back. Like that's not, see, and this guy just smiling and looking like an idiot. Sorry, a little road rage for you.
No, that's fine. And then, so you were mentioning, you got reactions. And when you're playing, you see a lot of behaviors going on. What kind of reactions are you looking for? How do you know it's working? And interestingly, we just crossed like a stop sign, right? A stop sign. When do you know when to continue playing this music? Is it just the moment it's not there? Or when do you know to stop and make a turn?
So that's good. I like how you use the iteration of the stop sign in there. That's great. That's great interview skills. That is a great question. So the reaction most DJs go for is people dancing. It's at least dancing, bobbing their head, people being like, ooh, making little noises that are good. Like sometimes you might be doing a good job, but people are dancing. Maybe it's a crowd that isn't really big on dancing, but you always want to try to get some people going. You want to get little reactions, usually it's physical. It's not even a verbal reaction. Usually you can just see how people are see smiles, you see it. Like when you're a DJ, you see the whole room and you analyze it. You just make sure, you don't want to see people frown, or you don't want to hear people do people like that, which is rare. Usually if it's a gig with kids, sometimes kids do that. And I feel bad for the kids when they do that, because it's like it's too loud, and you don't want people to be like affected. Some people don't do well with loud noises. Yeah, it's like you really want to try to get people going, and you kind of know to make a stop or a train. And one thing also is sometimes you do have to have a lull. You don't want people to dance all night, especially if it's at a bar or club. You want people to go buy drinks. You want there to be like intermissions, kind of. It's not like you're saying, oh, this is an intermission, go to the bar. But you kind of like switch the vibe. Like you'll play a couple of songs in a row where people are dancing, but then you want to give them time to mingle and do other stuff. I mean, but as a DJ, it's very tempting to just keep it going and keep it like lit. So, but sometimes, like when you do that and you switch it, you kind of switch the vibe. If you see a switch and you're like, okay, how am I going to reel them back in? And then you have to figure that out depending on where you're at, and sometimes it's more challenging than others. Sometimes it's not even to go to dance, like this gig today. My goal is not to have people dancing. My goal is to get people to come in the store and stay in the store, like shop. You want to get traction. You want people in the store to have a good time. You want them to be able to, enjoy the music, and you want it to be a good look for the store.
So for a good look for the store, what kind of music are you planning on playing, and how do you attract people? It's like a randomization. Everyone walks by, you don't know who will walk by.
Yeah.
We don't know what will happen.
Yeah,
you don't
know what will happen.
All we know is we're present.
And the thing I realized is these stores analyze it a lot more than I do. Like even I DJ for Coach, so I do all the different type of Coach stores, and they've told me a couple times, when you play that type of music, people come in, and when you play this type of music, that kind of that's when they analyze it, so they kind of give me feedback, which is very interesting. So usually when I'm doing like a store, I try to keep the music clean. I try to keep it, family friendly, but also fun, like up tempo, kind of like I wanted to feel like a fashion show, to a sense. But like kind of, I go through a lot of different vibes, especially like today. Like today, they asked me to stay for 4 hours, so I keep it interesting for myself. I want to make sure the employees have a good time as well, because they have to sit there and listen. And they, all these stores, they have their own playlists and play their own music, but they entrust me with the opportunity to come in and play. So, yeah, I have different playlists where I have clean, interesting, fun music, and you know, that's pretty much it. It's nothing too much to it.
So what are some like specific music you play that you find take code, for example, or the store where you're going to? What are some music you find that will be really good for the store and that will be a hit? What kind of customer walks in?
Yeah.
When you play the other one, what kind of customer walks in?
Yeah, I just kind of look at the customers and see. I assume things about them, and usually my assumptions aren't wrong. Like those two people came in the store right now. Like they look kind of eclectic and chill. Like they look like they're, you know, like I don't know. Like that guy, he looks like he'll vibe to some house music or something. Like if I play some fun little like just simple dance music or some interesting little electronic remix, like some Tinashe or some, you know, like some K Tronada, some internet, they would appreciate it and they would vibe. And there's some things like you can't, like if you like the internet, for example, that's one of my favorite bands. Like if you don't like the internet, I feel like you hate music. It's just like so chill and fun. It's some things like that. It's like you don't like Michael Jackson. Okay, maybe you are against his like allegations and stuff. But if you don't like his music, you just don't like music. Like it's just really good. Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire. Like even on the white people side, like some Police or like Gypsy Woman, like Crystal Castles. Like it's just some things that are just so fun and like chill. Like say if you play Pump Up the Jam, like everybody likes that song. It's like corny as hell. Like the Space Jam song, everyone loves it. It's just a silly, goofy song. And you just have these songs that are like clean, like a lot of R&B, a lot of funk, or you know, like kind of soul music. I'm gonna pause it real quick. I just want to see if they texted me.
Yeah.